Okay, we're live.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Appreciate you being here this evening. We have our special guest with us this evening, Sheriff Thurman, to come down and present to the city this evening, along with Chief Kelly, who has some awards of distinction to be presenting to the officers of the department this evening as well. So thank you for the families for coming out this evening. Thank you to Mary and her team for setting up, or was that Donnie?
That was Donnie.
That was Donnie. Where's Donnie? Oh, there you are. I'm looking right over. So awful at this game. Thank you, Donnie, for taking care of the lobby this evening. Appreciate that. So to get started, I'm going to call up Sheriff Thurman. Thank you for being here this evening. Appreciate it.
Thanks. You can stay up
Oh,
there.
you want to stay up there?
And Chief Kelly, if you'd come up. I'd like to thank Mayor Finn for having me down tonight to speak before the council, and I'm especially glad that most of the police department's here as well. I want to make a presentation to the city. It's in honor of Deputy Justin DeRosier. Back on April 13th, received a call that no chief of police or sheriff ever wants to get, and that one of their officers has been injured. In this case, Deputy DeRosier was severely injured and ultimately died a few hours later. Something that happened that night was I'd never been through anything like this. I'd only been sheriff about 3 months, and my phone rings about 10 o'clock at night, and things just started happening. I turned on the radio, and much to my surprise, there's 5 chiefs of police in the county, and one of them was out of state. The other 4, without being asked, came out to their cars. They started responding to various places, including Chief Kelly, and I relied on him heavily that night. One of the first things I did was call the chaplain and had him meet me and go up to Justin's house to speak to his wife. And I knew that Jim knew the family real well. I asked him to do the same with Justin's parents, and Jim got a chaplain and went up and advised Justin's parents. Then I asked him to go on up to the grandparents' house, which he did as well. And there's no easy way to give that news to a family, but better do it in person and somebody you know. And with the chaplain along, I know in case of Justin's wife, the chaplain was there. Her parents, fortunately, they were visiting from California, had arrived that day, and they had the infant daughter. It was great. The parents could take care of the baby, and she jumped in a car with the chaplain, and he got her down to the hospital, and she was able to see Justin, as were his parents. Unfortunately, he did pass. After that, it was kind of a blur for several weeks, but during that time, both Mayor Finn and Chief Kelly stepped up in a big way for us. I know Mayor Finn was along my side for several days. He's wearing his public information officer hat, that from the State Patrol, and walked me through that. And we had a lot of people come in and help us out, but they stood tall. Chief Kelly, he was on board from day one and throughout about an 11-day period. He was involved every single day, and a lot of the logistics that you saw in terms of the procession and service and everything, he was very heavily involved in making that work and make that happen. I'm appreciative to the city and Mayor Finn for allowing Chief Kelly to do that. I know it wasn't just professional for Jim, it was personal as well. He'd known Justin a long time and the family, and he put his heart and soul into that. And during that time, when he was away from the city, I know the officers of Woodland stepped up to cover not only the city, but all the cities helped go out and cover the county, and we're very appreciative for that. And we'll do some other things later on. We have some things being done in May that we want to honor all the officers in the county that helped us during that time. So I do have one thing tonight I want to present, and within about 3 days of the events of April 13 happening, we had a gentleman showed up at our front counter from Auburn. He's an artist, and he'd taken Justin's official portrait that he'd seen online or newspaper or somewhere, and he did a pencil drawing of that. He had one matted and framed up, which we gave to Justin's wife, and he also brought about 10 copies, and I've have these matted and framed up and presented these to all the police departments, and so they can hang in their offices, and a reminder of Justin's service and sacrifice. So, gentlemen, if you want to go ahead and unveil that.
It's not going to come off easy.
So,
Yeah, that'll be displayed proudly in Right out in the lobby here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate everything the city did. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming down tonight, Sheriff, and bringing such a wonderful gift. We really appreciate that, and although nobody ever wants to get that call, we're glad that we were able to step up and help as much as we could. So we appreciate you. Thank you very much. Chief, I understand you have some things to do this evening as well, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
I do.
All right.
And as part of that, I will always take the opportunity to embarrass members of my department. So I'd like to ask every individual who's here from the department to come up here.
Don't all move at
Right up front. Do you want me to say now? Ready, move. Okay, a big follow-up from what the sheriff had talked about. I wrote down a few things, and as a result of the effort of the Woodland Police Department, your Woodland Police Department, the members of the department are being recognized today with a department commendation ribbon. On April 13th, 2019, Cowlitz County law enforcement suffered an immeasurable tragedy when Cowlitz County Sheriff's Deputy Justin R. DeRosier was shot and subsequently passed away in the early minutes of April 14th, 2019. On the evening of April 13th, Deputy Sheriff DeRosier was responding to investigate reports of a disabled vehicle. After arriving on scene, Deputy DeRosier came under fire and was struck twice, once in the vest, then fatally through his arm and chest. Deputy DeRosier was able to tactically retreat to his vehicle and call for assistance. Without hesitation, police officers from Kalama, your Woodland Police Department, Kelso, Longview, Castle Rock, and the Washington State Patrol descended on the remote Kalama location, arriving within minutes. Kalama officers were able to evacuate Deputy DeRosier from the scene. Over the next 18 hours, the manhunt for the suspect was conducted with his successful capture approximately 2 miles away. Because of the tireless efforts of each agency and the unwavering teamwork displayed by all, lives were possibly saved, and the DeRosier family was able to have closure following this horrific event. Officers of your Woodland Police Department responded and were committed to the initial investigation for nearly 2 days. Sergeant Keller's team, consisting of Officers Gibb, Swenningson, and Moore, remained at the scene for hours to ensure scene security, allowing members of the county SWAT team to operate effectively. During the original call, WPD officers were either called in to cover or came in on their own to cover shifts in order to continue to provide service to the city while officers were engaged in the initial call. All members of your police department continue to provide a valuable and selfless team effort to provide law enforcement services for the entire county for the next 10 days following this tragedy. For the first 2 days of the investigation, your department was responsible for providing law enforcement services to the South County area, allowing the Cowlitz County Sheriff's Office to focus their efforts on the investigation and the unspeakable impact of the loss of one of their own. Members of your department worked tirelessly to maintain professional law enforcement services to the citizens in South Cowlitz County. Officers and clerks adjusted their shifts, put in extra hours, and maintained flexibility during this difficult time. 100% of this department will remain humble and tell you they were just doing their job. But I'm here to tell you, all personnel went above and beyond their normal duties and deserve the recognition for their teamwork, professionalism, and sense of community. That is why these individuals are receiving this commendation today. This citation that I have here will remain hung up in the department as soon as it's right inside the police department. The chief of the Woodland Police Department takes great pleasure in awarding the department commendation ribbon to all members of the Woodland Police Department for service as set forth on the following. Throughout the period well, this is the wrong document. Throughout the period of the 10 days, you distinguish yourself in exemplary and well, that's the wrong one. Wing it. I can wing it, but anyway, as you heard from all the information that I just provided you, these individuals stepped up. Probably the most proud I've ever been of any individuals that I've in my short 33-year career. This was above and beyond. Each individual here stepped up, did what they needed to do, took care of their community as well as the surrounding communities. So you guys all deserve that. Thank you very much for your hard work. And with that, there's a few awards that I've got to provide to you guys because I can embarrass some more of you. So I'll just say who can go sit down. Eric, you can go sit down. Rudy, you can go sit down. Chris, you can go sit down. Robert, you can go sit down. And I'll show council these. This is what these officers are going to receive. You can hold that. That's an extra one. These officers will be receiving a honorable conduct medal. And this is for 10 years of honorable service to the police department and the citizens of Woodland. The chief of the the Woodland Police Department takes great pleasure in awarding the Honorable Conduct Medal to Police Services Clerks Danielle O'Connor and Carla Heiler, Officers Terry Casey, Derek Kelly, Brent Murray, Dustin Palmquist, Sergeants James Keller and Robert Lipp for services set forth on the following. Throughout the period of January 1st, 2009 to January 1st, 2019, you distinguish yourselves through your exemplary and personal and professional conduct. This award is a testament to your selfless service and adherence to the department's high standards. You have honored your obligations and displayed the courage of your conviction and exhibited the highest degree of commitment. Your dedication and integrity reveal the depth of your character and are in keeping with the finest traditions of the Woodland Police Department. Given this 19th day of August, 2019. That's it. You guys are off the hook. Yeah. The floor is yours, Mr. Mayor. Somebody got him. I think Pete got him.
Okay. Okay. Don't let them. Hey, don't you guys leave yet. I see you. I see you. Don't you leave yet. There's a. Pull those out and get some photos of them. Okay. So that concludes the evening here, our reception. Again, thank you to the families and everybody else that came out this evening. Thank you, Sheriff Thurman, for making the drive down and presenting us with such a wonderful gift. We can't thank you enough for that, and we look forward to displaying that proudly in the lobby here. And with that, please make sure you get some snacks, but those of you that were here this evening would like to get some photos up here with your service medals with the chief before you try to go home and get out of your costumes. All right? Thank you very much. All right.
Donnie.
It's not.
We're live?
Thank you. Watch your. We're live. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
The Johnsons.
Oh, let me get my.
The Johnsons are leaving.
Yeah, the Johnsons are leaving.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
How
It's
come
my
this has
fault.
all these?
I didn't call her.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Chief.
Didn't we already do the white? This is old.
What is?
That's what Gina said.
What?
That's not new business anymore, is it? The Y racing tryout one?
It was on there.
They wanted to do it for 5 years.
One of them.
They wanted a contract. We said no, 1 year. The max would go was 2, but we're only going to do it for a year. We're not going to give them a blanket.
Beth Landry?
That was
What's
okay.
sitting down here in front? Yeah, because they were here to talk on the sewer standby fees and the asset we pulled them. So they're gonna come. They went to walk the dogs and
You and
stuff.
Carl were there?
I don't know it. Maybe she
Sure,
must
was
have.
probably
Was that her?
a little bit more efficient.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Oh, I don't know
shortest
it.
one they've ever had. No.
I don't know.
Probably was.
Okay.
We didn't have much of
Probably
it.
was, 'cause
It was short.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Get it together.
Because I have
Good evening, everybody. It's 7 p.m. It is Monday, August 19th, 2019. Meeting for the regular, oh my gosh. Hold on, let me start again. Regular meeting for the City Council for the City of Woodland. If I can please get everyone to please silence your cell phones and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Mrs. Ripp, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Fredericks.
Here.
Councilmember Rounds.
Here.
Councilmember Plaza.
Here.
Councilmember Chapman. Here. Councilmember Humbert. Here. Councilmember Graham.
All right. Mrs. Graham, and that is it. I almost said Mr. Plaza, but he arrived. Mrs. Graham has called out this evening. She is on personal time off this evening, so the chair will accept a motion to excuse her from tonight's
I
meeting.
make a motion to excuse Janice Graham.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Round, seconded by Councilmember Plaza. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert. Aye. Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
All right, I almost said Mrs. Round. Mrs. Graham has been excused. I just wonder what that would be like for her if we sent a real message and told her no. I'm just saying. I don't know. I think
Yeah, let's do
that would have been awesome. All right. This evening, we have some, under our presentation and proclamations this evening, I have a proclamation for Constitution Week. Let me find it here. I apologize. Okay. Set up here. I thought it was already ready to go. I apologize. And then this evening, we will also be interviewing applicants for council position number 7, which has been vacated by Mr. Mike Benjamin. But first this evening, Constitution Week, September 17th to the September 17th through the 23rd, 2019. Whereas September 17th, 2019 marks the 232nd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition of this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore be it resolved that I, William A. Finn, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Woodland, Washington, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2019 as Constitution Week, and ask all our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that the lost rights may never be regained. In witness hereunto, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Woodland, Washington, to be affixed this 19th day of August, 2019. We had no visitors from the Daughters of the Revolution? Okay, American Daughters of the Revolution. Okay, just make sure. Thank you. All right, moving on to interview of applicants for position number 7. We have one applicant to bring before you this evening, Mr. Monte Smith. If I could please get you to step up to the podium, and we'll address council together and get to know each other a little bit. All right. Will you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Hi, I'm Monte Smith. I've lived in Woodland for just over 3 years now with my wife and 2 small children. I got a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old. I stay pretty busy with that. I've electrician at the Port of Portland, Port Maintenance. Worked there for about 9 years. Went through the apprenticeship and graduated. I've been doing electrical for got to be close to almost 20 years now, 19 years now, around there, right around 18, 19 years.
And what brings you to apply for the vacant position this evening?
You know, I've got 2 small children in Woodland, and I want to make sure they have a great community to grow up in. I've never really one to sit back and let things lie as they are. I like to be involved and try to make sure, set the path forward towards having a great community for them and continuing to have a great community. It is a great place to live, and I'd like to try to help create that path and keep going in that direction.
Okay. Is there any qualifications that you need council to be aware of this evening while making this decision?
I don't think so. I've been on a few different boards. It seems pretty similar. I think I can handle the needs of what needs to happen. If not, I'm sure I can ask some people on here, and I'm sure everybody up here who's been here for a while be willing to give me some advice and guidance on how to be better at it.
Okay. I'll ask one more question before I turn it over to council this evening. You're aware of the time commitment that is required of a city council member?
I mean, I'm vaguely kind of know the time commitment. I know it's
The
it's
first
2
and
Mondays,
third.
first and third Mondays.
Yes.
And it sounds like there's some like committees that you're a part of that you go to.
Yes, so if selected, you'll be taking over for Mr. Benjamin and his committees through the end of the year. Mrs. Ripp, do you know what committees he sits on?
Public Works is one of them.
Okay, which met this evening?
Okay.
And Human Resources?
So luckily, if I'm not mistaken, both of those committees meet this evening, so it's a council meeting, so I believe it's a 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and then 7 council starts.
Okay. So you got to be there at 5 o'clock
For the first meeting.
for the first meeting? Okay.
That's only once
So,
a month, though.
yeah, and with that said, too, going into budget, we do have special meetings as well. So although we say first and third Monday of every month, there are occasional times where you'll have to attend special meetings, which will more than likely occur on an additional Monday.
Okay.
We try not to put those on a Thursday or Wednesday. We try to keep them all at Wednesday.
Yeah.
So just what did I say? Wednesday. I'm in the office on Wednesday, so it's the most important day of the week.
Yeah. No, it shouldn't be a problem.
yeah.
I should be able to make them. So, yeah.
Just want to make sure you're aware of the time commitment.
Yeah.
And I'll turn this over to council at this time. Does any council member have any questions for Mr. Smith at this time? Mr. Plaza.
You mentioned you were on a couple committees earlier, before, or groups.
Yeah.
What were those?
I served on the Merriweather board. I don't know if you know the Merriweather neighborhood that's in town here. I was on that for roughly a year. I'm currently on the safety committee at the Port of Portland for the maintenance department there. I was on a public sector committee for the union that represents us at the Port of Portland. And I withdrawed from that one after applying to run for the election. I wasn't going to be able to handle that much commitment, so I've been on a couple different ones. So.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Mrs. Rounds?
Do you have a time commitment that you can be at a meeting 5:30? Is that a problem?
No, I can take off work, and if I have to use vacation time, I've got enough vacation time. I can make sure and just schedule a babysitter or try to get some family to help me cover during those times.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Fredericks?
I think this is kind of somewhat of a unique situation, given the fact that there's only one person that's applied, and there's only one person running for seat 7, and that's Mr. Smith. So, I mean, normally we go through a process when we go through this, and that we interview applicants, but this, again, is a unique situation. So I don't really have any questions.
I guess we're thankful you're willing to step up and do this.
Yes, for sure.
I get a lot of questions on why.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Who says government isn't fun?
Yeah.
Any other questions from council or comments at this time? I have one final question, not seeing it's having one final question for Mr. Smith. Are there any, since as an election would come forward, we may not have an opportunity to have this conversation, but since you're asking to step up onto council, I'll ask your personal view. Are there any policies or issues that you're hoping to change within the city by being up here on this board?
You know, I'm a pretty open book. I hear everything that everybody has to say, and I try to form an opinion after getting all the information. I'm not steadfast in any decision or something that needs to happen. I like to listen and hear everybody and what they have to say.
I just have one more follow-up question. Do you have any large developments or anything that's occurring at this time within the city limits that you're a part of?
Pretty sure I don't.
Just verifying. All right. Anything else from council? All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I appreciate you being here.
All right, thank you for your time.
At this time, it is 7:11 p.m., and council will be retreating into an executive session per RCW 42.30.110, Section H, to evaluate the qualifications of a candidate for elective office, and also RCW 42.30.110, Section 1I, Section 2, litigation that the agency reasonably believes may be commenced by or against the agency, the governing body, or a member acting as or in an official capacity. Time is still 7:11. We'll retreat into executive session for approximately 15 minutes. The agenda. First up, we have Miss Beth Landry. Are you in the audience this evening? Okay. Yeah. Oh, come up. Please step up to the podium, and please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Beth Landry. I live in Woodland, just downtown at 537 3rd Street off 3rd and Bozarth. I just wanted to come to you guys today because I saw the article in the Columbian and was aware that in the July meeting, you guys had been discussing an ordinance that I know is on hold, but the ordinance number 1435 in regards to adopting a new chapter 9.52 to the Woodland Municipal Code regarding camping on public lands. So I appreciate that you guys put it on hold, and I understand why the need to bring up the ordinance and the rules is there. I get it. As you guys are getting feedback and considering other litigation cases that are going on in regards to this, I would just ask that you continue, and I know this is happening, so please don't interpret this as a point of a finger or anything. I respect that you guys are considering all residents, because the people who are experiencing homelessness in the city are residents as well as people that are housed. And I appreciate the police officers' response to people that are experiencing homelessness and mental health and doing what they can to help these individuals. So I just like to ask you guys to continue to approach this sensitive subject in a compassionate manner, respecting all of our residents' rights, and knowing that it's a challenge because we don't have the same service capacity here in Woodland that Vancouver or Longview has. I don't think that's enough reason not to consider things like what to do with someone's property if they are arrested. So if someone's declining assistance, maybe considering personal property rights and what referrals and interventions look like from Woodland City Police officers. I truly do believe that the police officers and other people that might intervene will take the necessary steps to make referrals and provide information and education. I would feel more confident that that will continue if some referrals and services are maybe integrated into that ordinance in respect to making sure that people are pointed in the right direction for help if they want it, and if they choose to continue to occupy public lands that's against the ordinance, then to follow up with an appropriate action step. But I do feel like that referral and that support is important, along with addressing personal property rights. So I just wanted to say thank you guys for considering the ordinance and addressing the topic, because a lot of different areas aren't going there yet. It's touchy and people are avoiding it. So I appreciate that you guys are trying to deal with this concern and trying to balance the needs of everyone, and just wanted to come and say thank you. And just as a community member, I'd appreciate if you consider those things as you move forward, and I'll look forward to hearing the revised ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kim Blaufus has also signed up, but I don't see her in the audience this evening. Is she in the hallway?
I think she just left.
Did she get tired of waiting for us?
She said bye to me.
Oh, okay. Just recently?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she left.
Travis is going to try and track her down here. No dice? All right. Anyone else in the gallery for items not on the agenda? Now's your opportunity to step forward. Seeing no one else, moving on to items on the agenda. I have no one signed up. Now's your opportunity to step forward for items on the agenda if you failed to do so at the beginning of the meeting. Seeing no one else. Moving on to agenda approval.
I move to approve the agenda, moving action item F to the last item of business tonight, and postponing items K and L to the September 3rd City Council meeting.
Second.
All right. Motion on the floor to move action item F to last item of business this evening, and moving action item K and L to the, did you say first meeting in September, or am I making that up?
September 3rd, first meeting in September.
Okay.
Should be Tuesday.
Tuesday, September 3rd. By Councilmember Frederick, seconded by Councilmember Plaza. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
All right. We have no public hearings this evening. Moving on to reports of City Council. Anyone?
I have
Okay, Mr. Fredericks.
Miss Coleman. Shout out to you for the hot summer nights movies in the park. I did not get to attend any this year. I'm sorry. But driving.
Well, you'll get to attend one tonight in my presentation.
Excellent. driving by, I noticed the number of people was amazing. So, and I know you spearheaded that. I know you had help, but that would not have happened without you. So, I just wanted to say a big thank you to you for that. Nice job.
I also
Well
heard
done.
lots of positive comments about it this year. I was not able to attend any of them either, but I know a lot of people did. So.
I was at all of them. It was amazing.
And what, you were selling hot dogs. Did you guys make a lot of money? Did VFW
Yeah, we did
do
pretty
well?
good.
Good.
Good pass.
Yeah.
I like that. I did make it. My favorite was the pirate. I just have to say, pirate was my favorite. So just throwing down pirate. Oh wait, I'm the one that gave you the contact for that one. Just saying.
Oh.
I'm so glad that I did.
I knew there was more to that.
Anyone else for reports of City Council this evening? What, is something being said over there? Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't hear it.
Carl has.
Carl, Mr. Chapman.
Ms. Coleman, when are you going to be taking suggestions for next year's movie?
I'm getting a lot of that too.
I already have it all lined up. I already have my themes, so you better get on it, because you guys are behind the ball, man.
I like to hear. I mean, that the ball's rolling, getting bigger. I like
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I will take any suggestions, comments, ideas, bring them my way. Don't, what's she gonna pay for?
Animal House.
Bring them, with money.
I think, with money. Yes, with money. Sorry.
Money
Always comes
buys
down
you
to money.
whatever movie you want within reason, as long as it's family friendly.
All right, anyone else? All right, moving on to reports of standing committees, Finance and General Government.
Yes, we met on December 8th, and we're very
That's
pro.
actually 8/12.
Oh.
Oh,
8/12. August 12th. Well, I said that on purpose, just to let everyone know we're a very proactive committee. I was not in attendance, but I do have the notes. Our next meeting, let me see. So we discussed the Y Racing Triathlon. There was a request for approval of a 5-year permit. My understanding is that is going back to the Finance Committee for September 9th. Is that correct? Okay. Wastewater treatment plant vehicle purchase, which is on the agenda for this evening. It was referred to out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Interlocal agreement with the City of Kelso for prosecuting attorney services. This is apparently a shorter contract, and I believe we're voting on that this evening as well. There was a due pass authorization as well from the committee on that item. And that was it. Apparently I was not there and the meeting was very quick.
Funny how
Which
that
apparently was very appreciated by the other members of the committee. Yes, and our next scheduled meeting is scheduled for September 9th at 5:30 at City Hall.
perfect. Questions from Mr. Fredericks? All right, thank you. Moving on to reports of advisory committees, Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber had a after hours last week. On Thursday, I was unable to attend. We had company from out of town. Our son and granddaughters was here. But this next month, Columbia Bank and Laluska is planning one together, and it will be at Columbia Bank. I don't know the exact date right offhand, but
Is there going to be a giveaway of cash?
I doubt that. Vault
Dang it.
will be closed.
They always have great. They also have great gifts at those things.
5 o'clock on the 19th.
Is it the 19th?
Yes, there's also one this coming Thursday at Riverside.
Oh, yes, a ribbon cutting, yes.
What?
A ribbon cutting at Riverside.
Riverside, the little store, the house across the street from Grocery Outlet. She has gifts.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm going to just throw this out there, but I don't think they wanted me there.
Oh, I'm sure they would love to.
Oh, I'll just, what time?
5:30, that one starts at 5:30.
5:30. I may crash that party just for fun.
Well, it'll be fun.
Yes. And
All right.
that's all I can think of. They're still meeting at the Grange Hall at this point, so it's bring your own lunch. And that's about all I have. I
The
can't.
banquet,
Oh, the banquet is in January,
18.
and they're accepting, they're thinking about doing some different things. We've got a board meeting tomorrow, and we're going to talk about some different things, so I'm not sure how it's going to be handled this year. So I'll have more, or Janice will have more to report
Well,
next
she won't be
meeting.
there.
No, but she'll know about it,
Okay.
so
Okay.
she can report on it.
I've heard some rumblings.
Yeah,
Trying to
I
switch it
have
up a
too.
little bit.
So,
Okay. Speaker tomorrow at all? Is there a
Yes,
speaker?
but I can't remember who.
I can't either.
Okay.
I can't remember, I'm sorry.
Okay, perfect. Questions for Mrs. Rounds this evening? All right. Moving on to reports of city officers. We have a planning commission vacancy ad that is going to close on August 27th for a 6-year unexpired term ending June of 2025. So if you're interested in the planning commission, please step forward and apply. We could certainly use you. Horseshoe Lake Management Committee vacancies. Ad, has that gone out yet, Mrs. Rep? Okay, so that has gone out due to the changes in the ordinance, which there's another one on your agenda this evening, the final reading. Again, I just want to state for all those at home listening or watching or will watch this later, this was an ordinance to get the Lake Committee in line with the rest of the committees within the city. It was just brought to our attention that there was no unexpired terms, and we still had more than 5 people sitting on the board. So this is a way to streamline that and make sure that we are consistent throughout the city with all our boards and commissions. So I am asking council to approve that this evening. 2020 budget prep calendar is, whoa, Carl, come on, this is good stuff. regarding lodging tax revenue, and are those, I'm looking to see if they're attached. Are those ones attached tonight, Mrs. Rip?
The calendar is in your email and your inbox.
Okay. And,
And the lodging one will be released on Friday.
okay, perfect. Thank you for that. I attended a golf tournament for the Chamber, which had a great time. I will say that we won. Mr. Boyce was there, along with 2 ringers that I brought on my team this year. I was very, very proud of those young men. One of them happened to be Chief Kelly's son, who happens to be a VPD officer. So, and I brought a trooper with me who is out on the links almost 3-4 times a week, I think. So, guy's crazy. So, I just sat back and drove the cart. It was fun. Yes.
The 2 letters you have addressed are
Oh.
attached to the packet.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Can you pull those out real quick? If you can find those, and then I'll address. I forgot about that. Thank you. Also, the chief and I last Wednesday happened to be having coffee, catching up. Thank you. Yes. Catching up when we were summoned to help cut a ribbon at the local Safeway here. They brought in new self-checkout stations again. So the chief and I got our mugs on Facebook somewhere, cutting that ribbon. He was very excited. It was his birthday. And the ladies at Starbucks sang him happy birthday. He was super excited that I let them know it was his birthday. All right. So, anyway, again, it was the chief's birthday last Wednesday. So if you get an opportunity to wish him a belated happy birthday.
Let it go.
You're welcome. Thank you. How many?
We can sing. We can sing.
We could sing for the chief's birthday?
Let it go.
Okay, maybe next time.
Let it go.
I, too, was unable to attend the after hours last week, but I did speak with Mr. Welch and apologize for not attending, but it sounds like there was about 30 folks that showed up. Manny out at the golf course catered it for him, and he said they had a wonderful time, but they had a ton of food left over. So he sent home bags of food with his guests. So encourage everyone to go to the next one. I've attached 2 letters to the agenda this evening from the Board of Commissioners of Cowlitz County. I just need to refresh myself on which one's which here. So during my coffee with the mayor here a couple weeks ago, Commissioner Weber was there, and that would be the first letter, page 13 in your packet. He and I had some great conversation, and he sent over some of his thoughts and ways that we can make some of that happen. The other one here, the second letter, is from all the commissioners, which I'm not very pleased with. So I'll just go ahead and get that out there right now. So this here is a letter informing us about the big idea. We were promised during our, now I know this is unpopular with some folks, but I'm take my stance on this one. The city of Woodland is treated much differently than some of the Cowlitz County citizens are treated a little bit differently than those across the state, with the exception of Snohomish County and Cowlitz County. We are not allowed to keep our 2 additional % of lodging tax dollars within the city, and that goes to the county. We tried legislation during this last session with some folks, and our legislation died in committee, and Cowlitz County is now still keeping our additional 2% of the 4 that we receive within the city. With that said, during that legislation, one commissioner attended the committee meeting that I was at and stated that the city of Woodland would be receiving $60,000 in big idea funds this year, and asked that the legislation not pass due to the fact that Woodland was getting their funding. That statement was also made publicly at another meeting, and this letter from the commissioners has stated that we will no longer be getting that $60,000 due to the fact they're revamping the program. So I'm a little disappointed that we were supposed to be getting some funding for a project here in town for tourism, and now we're not. I know that things changed, but I want the council to be aware of that I've tried to get the citizens' dollars back into the city to make them work, and thought that we did, and now we don't again. So anyway, par for course, I guess. Anyway, questions for me?
Yes.
Yes.
On the first letter that you referenced,
Yes.
there were some ideas that were brought up here, and I just want to make sure that city staff is looking at these to see if these are viable viable revenue, possible revenue streams for the city to explore. And I know Ms. Coleman looks at that.
I can speak to some of
Okay.
that. I can speak to some of it because we have been looking into it. As far as Exit 21, we're working on the study. We can't really get any funding for that until we actually have a viable project. When it comes to, there's a few on here, affordable housing opportunities. There's a new House Bill 1406, which is going to provide 1/15% of sales tax that the legislators will be 0.015. Did I get that right? I thought it was less than that. What's that?
1.0015?
Did I get that right? 1/15 of a percent? Yeah.
Hey, you're not required to do that.
Okay, listen, they didn't elect me for my math skills. Listen, so basically what's going, sorry, I got sidetracked there. So House Bill 1406 provides funding for affordable housing opportunities, which Commissioner Weber was asking that if the city of Woodland does not want, they would be more than happy to take those dollars from us, reference letter 2. So they would be willing to take those funding, that funding mechanism that is provided to the cities and move those dollars up into Longview where affordable housing could be built and constructed. I explained to him that we would have to look into that, look at the what exactly those dollars can be spent on, whether it be emergency housing funding, which some of our recording tax dollars go to now when folks can't pay rent or need to get into an apartment. There's a funding mechanism there. This may be an additional one, I'm not quite sure. So we are looking into that as well. The other one is the City Hall Visitor Center renovations, construction, whatever it may be, whatever you want to call it. And that was called a public facilities district. Now, we have been looking into that. Some of the answers that Mrs. Ripp has come up with did not pertain to the city at this time. But we're still trying to dive in and get some more answers to see if it's even a viable funding mechanism at this point. So we are, to answer your question, yes, we are looking into what Commissioner Weber sent down to us.
Is there any state legislative action that would address, we're already giving, I believe, 20% of our public, is it 20% or 20?
20%.
20% of our public safety sales tax to the county.
It's an administrative fee.
For, in essence, what was used to pay off this building. We're giving them that. Now we're giving them how much of the?
About $65,000 in tourism dollars.
$65,000 in tourism dollars. And, oh, by the way, they'll really help us out with this, and they'll take the additional funding that we have available for the affordable housing opportunities. They'll take that. It seems to me that we need to have some sort of state, maybe Mr. Orcutt, maybe some help on drafting something to take to the legislature that sort of addresses these issues. And the fact that it seems to me that you're really saying something, you're trying to be very politically correct, but it seems to me like there was testimony that was provided at the state level from one of our commissioners that indicated we were getting a certain amount of dollars that absolutely was not, that's not truthful. And here we are, not able to address the original issue that we have, that only 2 counties have this issue in the entire state. So I'm not sure what legislative action can be taken or what can be done by either our state senators to address and maybe introduce some legislation that helps us because we're in this unique situation.
Right. And I also refer you to action item H this evening, which would be ordinance number 1431, school capital facilities plan and impact fees that only the citizens within the community are paying when they build a home. As you can remember, one meeting back, our transportation problem and our school facilities are our problem. And those that are still building outside of the city but use the city as a way in and out of their residence are not paying, but yet development is still occurring.
Yes.
So I just would like to write everyone of that as well.
Which we'll talk again when we get to that action item H as well. The subsidization. Thank you. Thank you. How many syllables, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the dollar amount was, but it was a big number. Every time a house is built in the county, we are subsidizing, the taxpayers in Woodland are subsidizing new construction for schools.
All right.
It seems like it does not seem to me like it is a fair deal to me. But maybe it's just me.
No.
No, it's not.
So with that, that's my report. I'm sure you will dive into that more when you get into the action items. Although I will say, yes, I appreciate you noticing that I'm trying to tread delicately here through this conversation. I'm just asking that the county be a better partner. Although they have been a good partner in the past, where certain things, I would like to continue our relationship and work through these issues and hopefully get some resolution. As you move into your agenda, also on action item H, we just touched on that. I asked for an approval on that to help out our school system. And then also I direct your attention to action item M, which would be to set a public hearing for October 7th, 2019, and authorize staff to prepare ordinance prohibiting marijuana and marijuana cooperatives, not retail. We already prohibit retail, but to prohibit marijuana cooperatives and set that public hearing in October. I asked for a due pass on that as well this evening.
So we're not, to clarification, we're not asking to prepare an ordinance prohibiting retail marijuana.
We already have one.
We already have one. It's
Yep.
just the cooperatives.
Yes, correct. Mr. Boyce.
Question for
Oh.
Mayor.
Yes.
I understand that you're meeting, you and the chief of police are meeting at the Meriwether Homeowners Association on the 27th of August.
Yes.
Is it possible that, you don't have to do this, but it's always nice to know if you're going to be speaking to community groups, so members of council can, if they want to, kind of go and attend with you, kind of maybe as a united front.
Okay.
It would be good to have that information. Do you know what time that is on the 27th, by the way?
I want to say it's 7. And I believe, I'm going to throw myself under the bus here. The chief did ask me for clarification on that about a week ago, and I don't think I ever got back to him as soon as you said that. Stand by.
I think it was 7 p.m. I have 6 to 7.
It's 6:30. Sometime in the evening of the 27th, we will be at the clubhouse there. I'm looking right now here. Back to what I said.
I live in the neighborhood.
6 and 7:30.
I've got 6:30. 6:30 p.m.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, for the clarification on that.
I live in the same community, and I was kind of surprised to see, oh, the mayor's coming.
Of course I am. I talked to all the groups.
27th, 6:30. Got it.
Okay. And with that said, was my picture out there?
It was.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Rame.
Yeah.
All right. I was hoping it was going to be a small group. I'm going to try and also get out to the 369 Gun Club as well, just so
I am putting
council's aware.
flyers on doors through the neighborhood.
Good, good. I'm going to hear it. Mr. Boyce.
All right, I just wanted to mention action item J. We had brought that to the Finance Committee. It's the contract for prosecuting services. There was one issue I brought up to the Finance Committee that we really didn't like, and that was that it took more than one city to pull out of the agreement. Chief Kelly worked his magic, and that provision has been changed. So one city can pull out of the agreement. It doesn't take more than one. The Finance Committee gave a due pass recommendation, and I urge City Council to do so. It is a short contract. The City of Kelso has hired the attorney who was the prosecuting attorney. The reason for the change is that some new judges decided on some new rules for the court, which require the prosecuting attorney to be there. They were there 1 day a week, and now it's several days. So we are looking at more money than we budgeted for the contract. But again, we're between a rock and a hard place. I'd recommend approval, and we'll look at the end of the next contract period for other options.
He's taking
I see a
questions,
question.
right?
Yes.
Good answer. Were your issues regarding the compensation, the trial, and the insurance apparently there were some more concerns that were addressed other than the termination clause at the Finance Committee meeting, and that's why, I want to clarify it. Compensation, trial, insurance, and one-time fee. Were those items addressed, or are you comfortable with them?
Well, my issue with the fee was that it's more than what we budgeted.
Right.
So that hasn't been addressed because the person's going to have to spend more hours doing the work. As far as the $500 per trial, that's different. We don't have that in our contract right now.
Yep.
But it's my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, that we have very few trials, so it really shouldn't amount to much. We have, what, 1 or 2 a year, Chief?
Usually, on average, yes, sir.
Right. And I believe the insurance provision is adequate now.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Right, and I should mention, the city attorney just mentioned that the current contract ends at the end of this month. We received notice from the previous law firm that they want out.
And is there any cases that are pending with that firm, and how's the transition going to occur between?
The city of Kelso hired the same attorney that was working for the firm. So transition should be a breeze.
Transition should be a breeze. Good job.
Other than that, since our wonderful movies in the park, Hot Summer Nights, have concluded, our upcoming events has dwindled. We have September 19th, Chamber After Hours at Columbia Bank, 5 p.m. September 28th, St. Vincent de Paul, St. Philip Church, 5K Fun Run. And I believe the VFW has a breakfast on September 14th, 7 a.m. to 11.
Correct, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Boyce? All right, thank you, Mr. Boyce. And we have a real treat this evening. Director of Public Works is, Chief of Public Works, sorry. Chief of Public Works is on hand this evening to give the department report that was missed. Commander-in-Chief of Public Works. What? Who did just now? I did just now? Oh. Oh. It's going to be a good report. You know how the chief likes to overdo everyone else.
Okay, so just saying that I haven't been able to give a report for 2 months because I was in South Carolina last month, and then this month I was gone as well. So it's a little longer than normal, but you've been waiting for it. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Buckle up. Here we go.
Okay, here we go. All right.
Is there music?
We'll just start with some updates, and then we'll end with what we're working on. And this isn't everything, but this just gives citizens a brief overview. Okay. So we're going to start here. We had a successful, I believe, 2019 Hot Summer Nights and Movies in the Park. As everybody knows, we combined them together this year because Woodland Downtown Revitalization was unable to do the bands this year, so we combined it and made it one event. So if you wouldn't mind hovering over the bottom, there should be on the bottom of the picture. Let's see where you'll cover everything is.
Please stand by.
Might need your help.
I love working with Tracy. It's so much fun. Oh, there it is.
It's moving.
Is there no sound?
Oh, great.
I can sing if you'd like.
Please. It's Michael Jackson. Yeah, is it on mute? Where do you do the sound?
Mr. Burrell, please do not report on any of this. I appreciate it. The shenanigans that are happening this evening.
We don't have sound hooked up?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm so sorry, but this was the last band that played during 80s night.
They were awesome, by the way.
They were awesome.
Yeah, so what I did is, we'll go here. How come yours isn't doing it? I played it on my computer. It works just fine. Anyway, what I wanted to do is, let's see if I can move it forward.
He does.
I think it's going. She's doing the tambourine thing, so it's going to do it here pretty quick.
Okay.
So anyway, this is Michael Jackson. I wanted to give an overview of what was going on in the park. I can't get it to go all the way around. Well, see why. Can you do a full screen? Did you do the?
It's just full of the.
Recess for 5 minutes. Ms. Coleman, would you like a recess for 5 minutes?
No, but you guys are gonna have a recess for 5 minutes because that's how long it's gonna take. No, I'm teasing. It's on. There we go. Here we go. Everybody
Okay.
watch.
Sorry,
Everybody
sorry.
watch. We're panning around.
There we go.
I'm sorry you don't get the musical effect.
Yeah, that's too bad.
But this kind of shows what was going on in the park. There's your Pirates, Mayor.
Yes, yes. They were awesome. The cannons were amazing.
Yeah. Except they scared some little kids.
Yeah, they scared me. I wasn't expecting them to be that loud.
The beer garden in the background. And what I found was very interesting in that everybody was coming to set up for the movies early, and not as many people were there for the band as they were there for the movies. So I just found that was interesting that more people were there for the movies, and we had about the same amount of turnout for the band every year, every night.
You're famous. You made the video tonight.
Video.
So that's
Awesome.
about it. Sorry the sound didn't work.
Well, it'll be noted on your evaluation.
All right, thank you. So this is kind of a wrap up. So I wasn't able to present, so there were a few hot summer nights that I'm wrapping up on. So this one is Christmas in July, and you can see there's Santa Claus there.
So awesome.
And we actually had the Masonic Temple, which actually opened up their building and had Christmas trees all lit up and handed out Christmas cookies. So we did the Christmas cookie walk, and we walked through the park up there. And then we had quite a few vendors, and then obviously we showed the Grinch.
So awesome.
And then this was on August 2nd. I wish I could have been there. I was gone here. This was the dog night, and this is where we had Councilmember Graham presented to the Humane Society a check, which was absolutely wonderful. I thought that they were there. We also had a lot of the local businesses here that do dog grooming and sell dog products in Woodland come and set up vendor tents, and I thought that was really neat, and they asked to come next year.
Okay.
They thought it was a really good event. And this is, as you see, we showed Underdog was a movie, and this was a group that came that did a fly ball competition. And so if you go to the next screen, I gotta go to the next screen.
Oh.
There you go. You just click on that, Pete. You can play. The dogs go down, they hit the ball, get it.
Oh, that's great.
Holy smokes.
It was awesome. That, if you've never seen it, it's really fun to watch, but it's a fly ball competition, so it's pretty cool. Click on it one more time. Now watch the dog on the right, how fast it makes it down. Then watch the dog on the left, just boom, gone. So that's the best part, I think. You know, he's like, oh, you think you're going to win, but so next one.
I'll count to 3 and let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. And then on August 9th, obviously that was our last night of the event, and that was our 80s theme, and with the pirates. So we showed the movie Goonies, and there was a little battle out there on the lake with their little 18-foot boat, and then obviously, I believe that the VFW, and Susan, you mentioned this, did pretty good. I think it was a good fundraiser for the VFW, and I think we worked very well together, and I was very pleased that they came out and were supportive of the event, and I thank you for that.
And we thank you for allowing us to do that.
Yeah, it was good. It was good all around.
Everybody said what a great deal it was, too.
Well, that's-
Like, it was $5 for dinner.
Yeah. So then this is in recognition of Deputy DeRosier, where that site is completed, and that was done between the police department and the public works. We worked very well together, and as you can see, the final product and the plaque is out there. I think it came together very well. The police department helped us out tremendously, and so we appreciate that.
Can I just jump in real quick?
Yes.
It's important to note the community sponsors that we had on that as well, which was Chilton Logging with the rocks and the bark dust from, and I don't know the name of the new business, but
Bigfoot, and then also the tree.
oh, it's Sagawa's Nursery.
Sagawa's Nursery did give us a discount tree.
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Yes. And then we moved the VFW Memorial, as you can see that, and we also had a donation from Steve, Jody's
Hers.
Hertz, yeah, for the finish work for the foundation for the VFW, and so we were able to move that. Obviously, the poles were paid for by donation money that was raised by the VFW. We put the poles in, and Steve did the concrete. We did some concrete around it as well, and you can see the final product. And then we are in the midst of planting some red, white, and blue flowers around it, so it'll be really neat. It'll be seasonal, so we'll have white roses and in memory of those who have served, and then we'll have red and blue seasonal flowers.
It's very visible, more visible than it was.
Yeah, isn't it? And
Yep.
and we faced it. Thank you, Mary. We faced it that way so people could see it coming around the corner, and it just popped. We thought. Also, we moved the. Do you like that? Look at that. Horseshoe pits moved from the main field, and Public Works continues to paint the town. So you see, we have some benches that we've been painting around town and stuff to make the town still look shiny and new. And then the horseshoe pits were over in the open grass field. It was all sun, dead grass, because it's very sandy there. It's hard to keep it watered. So, and we were talking about it, that horseshoe pits are not as enjoyed by the younger generation, and it is more for my generation or the elderly generation. So we wanted to move them into a shady area. So we moved them over on the other side of the picnic shelter, and we put a bench out there so people can sit there in the shade, and you can play horseshoes there. And then because there wasn't really any place to sit and play over there, and also they kind of interfered with the movies and the fundraiser that the fire department does every year. So there were tripping hazards, so we kind of moved them over there to the side, and I think it's just a great location for them. Borders and Eagle Park, so we received a grant from the Port of Woodland to upgrade Eagle Park, so we actually were able to put all the borders in and a wheelchair ramp right there at Eagle Park. And then we're in the midst of we're almost done with it, putting some mats in at the park to be able to hold that bark in place, because you know it's engineered bark that we have to have now, to hold the bark in place so it doesn't move out of place when the kids are going down the slide or in the swing. So that should be done by this next week, and we'll be able to collect on the grant dollars that they allotted us. We continue to mow around the city and collect garbage. You know, we mow all of our bioswales, so we've done that. And then this is just an example of garbage that this right here in particular was the 4th of July that we ran around and we picked up throughout the park. It was all over our streets. It took us 3 days to pick up all the garbage around town on our streets. So that's something that people, I don't think, realize that we do. They just kind of leave it and go and just think it's going to be cleaned up magically. But it takes our guys and crew a lot of times. And that was 3 to 4 guys for 3 days, just picking up garbage. So. We have the bases for the lights over here at the parking lot back here behind the police station for additional parking. And so we actually have the lights up. We received the LNI inspection, and so now those are up and working right now. We also lifted out 5 back stations, lift stations with the City of Vancouver's back truck. This last week, they were all completed, so we have pretty much all our lift stations that are backed out now. We did 2 catch basins repaired. This one was at 3rd and Dunham. And so what we're finding is that when these catch basins are failing and our road fails below it, we're finding that they weren't sealed and grouted correctly from when they were previously installed. So whether it was an inspection or whether it was the contractor, the type of grout they use, but we're having to go through it and repair a lot of our catch basins. And this one right here, you can see on West Scott catch basin. So if you look to the far top left, you can see where we dug it out. There was actually a sinkhole in the road, and this is what we're finding all throughout town. And as we dug it out, can you see right around that pipe? So you see there's, I'm going to point it so you guys have a good understanding of what's going on here. Because this is happening all throughout town. You can see where the catch basin is, and we have to suck it out. So here's a catch basin. This is where we're finding failing in the road. And then in this area right here, this whole area right around here, see where there's no grout or anything in there? So what happens is water goes through there, and it washes, see, this is all washed out underneath there, which causes that sinkhole. So we have to go in and we have to regrout the whole thing, and then we go in and we repatch it down here. But if you look at this, can you guys, if you can't see this very well, you need to, do you see all the alligatoring on the road? Yep. That's how bad our roads are. I mean, and that isn't even to account for situations like this where we have our sinkholes. So this is stuff that you have to pay attention to. So even though we've patched this, we still have this bad alligatoring on our road. So it's kind of hard. I didn't have a pointer. Sorry about that. And then, let's see, Pacific Avenue project. Who's been driving down Pacific Avenue? Does everybody like what you're seeing? Mm-hmm. Yeah, except for Frontier not getting off the poles. But we'll leave that one to our attorney.
They're not putting them under?
They have not yet. We gave them a drop dead date and they haven't done it yet. We even have the conduit in the ground. They still haven't done it. And we even had a dump truck pull their wire off the pole, and they came back and spliced the wire overhead. But we won't talk about that. We'll talk about that we are doing a great job on our sidewalks down Pacific Avenue.
I'm excited to get those poles out of that.
Yeah, they will be.
It's going to look nice.
So what we're doing right now is we're still continuing that, and that comes out of our capital dollars, our general budget funds that were given to our sidewalks. So we're doing that. And then the next one shows that the top is where we're still working on Pacific Avenue, but the bottom is the CDBG funding that we received. So we're tying the two together. So we have, not only do we have our nice ADA ramps in that area, but we also have sidewalks that are going in. So the two are packaging very nicely together.
Is Mr. Hertz doing those as well?
Steve is doing that, yes,
Okay.
with Matt Reichel. That's correct.
He does a
They
good
were
job.
a little better.
They do a really good job.
They do an excellent job, and
Yeah.
they do a lot of field engineering, which is hard to come by. So, and all of their angles are less than 2% grade, and that's, I mean, sometimes you get a contractor, and if they bid low, they don't get those grades in, so then you have to fight them to get the angles back in. So, and these are really odd streets, because we have some of our streets, we have 6 inches to the curb, and other areas, our curb is right at the street level. So you have to try to figure out that angle when you're going in there and pouring it, and it's hard. And even our engineer said, we're not sure how to design this, some of it's going to have to be field engineered, and that's when you're hiring a professional engineer. So they do a really good job for us around town. So this is on Park Street. This is back behind the Astro gas station on Park Street. So we put a sidewalk in on that side and tied in with ADA access as well. And so they're moving the poles back down the sidewalk. And then this is up at the water treatment plant. We demolished the old generator cover and took the generator out, and so we just have a new pad that's just been poured, so they're getting ready to put the new generator in, so we'll have this winter. So excited. And so the HVAC is starting up, and the installation at the water treatment plant, so that's just showing some of our new heat systems that are going in there, which are absolutely amazing. As you guys have seen from the tour of the water treatment plant, we have a lot of corrosion in the plant, so this is going to help with the preventive maintenance on that corrosion within the water plant itself. And then we have new actuators at the plant. I put that up there if you want to know what an actuator does. It basically controls the flow in and out of the plant and the water flow. So you can see the left is an old actuator, and you can see the right we have the new actuator in, which is really nice. It's really precise. It gives you signals that go right on to your phone. So it's nice. It's not as manual anymore. And then we have new storage tanks up there for our water treatment facility. The bottom right corner are the old tanks. They're half the size of the new tanks that are on the left-hand side. So we actually put out to bid, which was part of a recommendation from our auditors, because there's not a lot of places where you can buy the chemicals. So we solicited chemical bids at that recommendation, and we have somebody that came in lower, so they obviously had to put new tanks in. So we actually have new tanks, and they do reduce the delivery because they can fill the tanks up with more chemical and more delivery. And then if you look throughout town, we've painted our guardrails. I think they look really nice and clean. Again, we continue to paint the town. And so that's gone down at Horseshoe Lake as well, at the guardrails in the parking area. And so we have a situation right now that we're working on. We're working with the city engineer, and we have our 500,000 gallon reservoir tank, and in that reservoir tank it's concrete, it's older, it's built, I think it was built in the 50s or 60s. And so that tank has started leaking. We've had it repaired quite a few times. And so it's a concrete tank. So what we do is we hired Liquid Engineering. They were the lowest bidder, and they go in, they dive the tank, and then they go in and they repair that tank, the leaks inside the tank. So if you go to the next picture, we brought them out twice. As you can see, the left picture where the blue lines, paint lines are, that is right. You can see the dirt mark top blue line is where the tank was sitting above the dirt, and then the bottom blue line is where it was sitting below the dirt. You can see it's still leaking on the crack of the tank, but if you look at the third blue line down, that's the ledge at the very bottom of the tank, okay? And on the right side picture, you can see the ledge of the tank where the concrete is, and then you can see there's water leaking on that chunk of concrete. You see it pouring out on that chunk of concrete, and then we have a pump in there that's pumping it out. So what happened is that tank has a cone shape down at the bottom, and we believe that it's leaking down in that cone shape, but probably a rubber grommet or something that's in there that brings that pipe that comes out that feeds to our distribution system. But we're not 100% sure yet, and you can't undermine the tank, right? So we're not exactly sure how to fix it yet, but we're working on it, and we're tracking the gallons per minute of water loss right now that we can report to the Department of Health. So we're working on that right now, but that's our top priority, and that is what we're going to be putting in our budget for next year, to decommission this tank. There's too many leaks in it in the last few years, and to put in that million-gallon reservoir, which is why we cleared those trees up this last year, up above the water treatment plant. So in process, what we're still doing in the interim is we're still working on the TIB engineering contract for Scott Avenue. Those funds that we allocated for this year will be most likely spent a little towards the end of the year once we get the engineering contract in place, and then next year. The water plan contract for negotiation, they came in over budget. We're still negotiating with them. We think we have a game plan to keep them at budget, and we'll find out. The gal that we were negotiating with is on vacation, so we should be able to have some answers this week. Scott Hill and Old Pacific Highway sewer tie-in, we're getting ready to go out to bid for that. The rebid for Scott Hill Booster Pump, came in $100,000 over, so we're going to rebid it in the winter time to try to get the prices down. Hoffman Sidewalk advertisement, we're hoping to go out to bid for next month. We're waiting for the Department of Transportation to give us the fund allocation. Geotechnical, we're looking for a new geotechnical firm to bore holes. The Burlington Northern Railroad, this is in regards to the water line crossing at Davidson. So you know how we had the permit for that? So the geotechnical company that we had getting ready to bore the holes, do the test pits, the Burlington Northern Railroad came back and said they won't accept the backhoe test pits. They wanted a drill machine to go in there, so it's more expensive. So this company can't do that, so we're trying to get another company to come in and do that. Lift station number 5, we're getting ready to close that out. It's all completed. You guys are aware of that, but we're doing the closing documents. Washington State City Safety Summit, we're going to host that this year. That's something that I went to last year. That was part of the OSHA training, and the who came and talked to me, Department of Labor and Industries, came and talked to me, and they recommended that I go to that, and I went to it in Spokane last year, and so they said, anybody want to host? And I said, heck yeah, we want to host it. So they're going to come here this year. They're going to be right here in September, so we're going to be hosting that, and so we're going to have people from all over Washington State come and present as far as what they're doing in their city, from Tacoma to Walla Walla and Spokane, etc. We're working now on the fees ordinance for the parks, now that the parks are completed this year. With the power in there, and we've had a few events, now we can really get down to the nitty-gritty and try to look at really what costs we should be absorbing in those parks, fees we should be charging, so we can bring revenue back into our parks. We're still working on the rate study for our capital dollars. The only thing they're waiting on that rate study is me to provide them the capital dollars for the water, sewer, and storm. I have not given them that information yet. That's the only thing they're waiting on. I am a little nervous on giving them the information because it has to do with the rates within the city, so I'm just crossing my T's and dotting my I's, so be patient with me on that. I just want to make sure that I capture everything that I see there, especially when it comes to the streets. Exit 21 study, their Kittleson Associates did a great job on that. They're still on track. Hopefully we'll get something here in October, November as far as what we're looking at for Exit 21. We're still doing the water treatment plant filter restoration phase 1. That's getting ready to go out for bid. You guys know what that one is. Remember there's 3 phases out, 3 filters up there. Wastewater treatment plant screening system upgrade is in process. The wastewater treatment plant UV replacement, that was part of tonight's agenda for the electrical portion of that, to approve that. The wastewater treatment plant concrete pad for the screw press dumpster, we're extending that concrete pad because the current one that they put in there is taken a beating and it wasn't designed correctly, so we had it engineered, and so we're going out to bid on that. And then the industrial site feasibility study is still in progress. Any questions? That was pretty fast for 2 months. And I didn't even put everything in there. Yes.
Question, Mr. Fredericks.
Just rockstar report. I appreciate what you're doing and the enthusiasm that you bring for your department. I think your attitude is infectious to your crew, and it shows by the way our city looks. There's a lot of good things that are going on, and when I do kind of, hey, how'd this happen? It all kind of goes back to Tracy, and I appreciate what you're doing for our community. It's good stuff, and I know you have a team of people that are working underneath of you that are making it happen.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, sometimes you need a good leader that has
I'm sitting right here. I'm sitting right here. Stop! I'm blushing. I'm blushing.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I do want to say that it is the people who work in the department. It's not me. I mean, people keep saying, "Oh yeah, it comes back to you." Well, they do the work because they want to do the work, and I think the majority of it is that they've had leaders that maybe haven't given them the time. And so I think once you give people that you work with the time and let them know that you really are concerned and you listen to their ideas and suggestions, they'll go leaps and bounds for you as a city. So simple little things. Pete and I talked, and the mayor buying them shirts. Going to the utility breakfast or utility and letting them take that day off and go into a breakfast, or they'll give you the shirt off their back, and they'll do things for you as a city. So just remember that when you come and you say, oh, we just, can I buy them 3 shirts for $60? Absolutely, because you get a lot more out of them that way.
Well, I think the fact that you were, I'd say for the first time since I've been on council, not to say anything bad about the folks that have sat in your chair prior, but I think you really come to the table prepared to tell the story about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And showcasing, taking what they're doing to the next level and really showing what they're doing with the level, with that energy and passion that you bring is fun to see, because you definitely see a huge change within that department, and it's fun to see the changes that are going on in the community, and a lot of that has to do with your department. So
thank you.
Thank you.
I'll relay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ms. Coleman? All right. Nice job. Thank you.
I would like to ask both council members that sit on my Public Works Committee to please give feedback in regards to our road, street funds and what you see going on based on what we have shared. I think it's important for council. I think it's important for the citizens to know what's going on with our road fund and what our struggles are, if you wouldn't mind sharing that. That's one thing that I didn't address here, except for the one picture of the Alligator Road. Other than that, I haven't talked about, our chip seal program or any crack seal. And if one of you guys wouldn't mind sharing, I would appreciate it. Not to put you on the spot.
Well, basically, we're out of money for the streets. And we have streets that need to be chip sealed. We're finagling now to do Lake Avenue, which I think it is at Lake Avenue. Is that the street?
It is.
Because it's in very disrepair. There's several places. The people on the other side of town are asking, are you only working on this side of town? But we're very limited on funds. We just have no funds. And so we're going to do the Lake Avenue, and we were going to do a torch down. So we're going to cancel that and funnel some funds to, is it the CC Street?
It's actually Lake Avenue, which we're talking 365 feet of road. That's all we're talking, you guys.
Yeah.
I get really emotional about it because, I'm sorry, your guys' roads are going to pot, and you've got to find a way to get money to your streets, because to do 365 feet of street in 1 year is not gonna get you guys anywhere. With all the business that you're bringing into town and all the trucks, I have a big fear of what's gonna happen to the roads. And when your roads fail, then the water and the sewer underneath the roads are not supported. So not only that, if you don't have, we can't even street sweep some of our roads because it's sucking the road up in the street sweeper. And so what happens when you suck that road up? You have nothing to compact for your water and sewer. So then you're driving on top of gravel for your water and sewer lines. So you really have to think about some way to get money for your roads. That's all, I'm just saying, you don't have that money. And I have people complaining all the time and I can't do anything about it. I'm very passionate about the roads. So you guys got to figure out a game plan.
Ms. Fredericks.
I appreciate that, and I know the council has taken action not too long ago to try to create some dedicated funding for our streets.
Twice.
I think, yeah, twice, and it failed.
Yeah.
And I, as a member of your finance committee, I don't know where the money should come from.
Nor do I.
And that, I think, is the real challenge, is we have big challenges that are going to cost more money if they're not addressed.
Right.
And so we've said no 2 times to it, and every time we pass it off and say no to it, I have issues. I have challenges funding. I think we have challenges funding the police department to the adequate level that it needs to be funded.
Yeah.
Again, when you look at it, you need roads for police to drive on. You need roads for businesses. I mean, it makes sense to provide a higher level of funding for streets. The challenge is I got to rob Peter to pay Paul.
And now they're both broke.
And they're both broke.
So, and I don't think the citizens realize, and anybody who's watching this video realize that, they say, well, what about all the transportation impact fees? What they don't realize is those cannot be spent on maintenance.
Right.
They can only be spent on fixes. So we talk about exit 21, if that needs to be fixed, a new intersection, you can use your fees on that. You can use your fees to put in a stoplight. You can't use it for maintenance. So if you guys can get out there and spread the word to the citizens and tell them there has to be some way to come up with funding for maintenance, because the only way you get that is from the taxes brought in by businesses, but there really isn't enough to fund what the new infrastructure that they're putting in.
It might make sense to have somewhat of an exploratory committee to explore the funding mechanisms and the best way to proceed forward with putting a strategy together that addresses the street funding with timelines and understanding that, hey, this is what we've got, this is what I can tell you one of the challenges that we've had is we've never had a list provided of, hey, here's 37 maintenance projects that need to be done with your roads. I don't think our citizens are aware of that. They're not aware of we tell them we have a problem because we've all studied it and we recognize that we have a problem, and we take to them the solution for the problem that we've all studied, but I don't think we're doing a very good job of articulating the problem to the folks.
Right.
They don't know the list of things. And we have people that, unfortunately, we have people that write against it in the campaign that, we've already have the money, apparently, somewhere. And we just need to reallocate it.
Well, maybe what we could do is we can put the road list, because we have the road list that we brought into council and previous council members. Maybe we put that road list on there to show what year the road was last touched, so people know how many miles of roads we're talking about. Because we have, 30 miles of roads within the city that need to be maintained.
I think the way that process begins, though, and you have a meeting starting at the Meriwether Homeowners Association on the 27th of August, is someone needs to set up an easel with what's our problem, and start sharing that. And I don't mind helping with that, and maybe there's other members of council who would be willing to participate in coffee clutches, 369 Gun Club, other areas within the community, the VFW, the Moose Lodge, and really take that out. The chamber. Take the story out there so people understand what it is, and then get that seed planted and then move forward with a funding campaign that addresses it. We've been successful in Woodland when we are behind it. When it seems like we're not real successful with it if it's the council trying to do something. But when there's a groundswell, I think the high school is a prime example of something that can be done when the community gets behind it. And I think the community may not necessarily see the challenge that we have. I don't think they understand it from a true, where's the funding at today?
Right.
What are the projected projects that we need over the next 5 to 10 years? And what are our funding mechanisms that are available to us that require voter approval? And I know there is I believe it's a 2 cents on every.
0.2%.
0.2%.
What is that?
It's like a dime on every $50, I think.
That would go
Something like that.
dedicated to street funding.
Or a nickel.
And we might actually be able, and one of the other things that we could certainly explore at the committee level that we might be successful at, freeing up some general fund money that we could use for the roads. If the other thing passes, it might free up a little bit of dedicated funding for our streets. Not much, but every little bit helps, I suppose. But it's definitely a challenge. I think that was when Mr. Stepp was here, he recognized it. It was reported on. We know it's a problem, but we're really we're stuck. I feel like we're stuck.
Well, and part of the problem too is that general public sees each of the departments technically as just having one bowl that the money comes out of. So there is no understanding that only certain funds can go to certain things.
Correct.
And so, kind of follow on Councilmember Frederick's deal, is education is a big deal to get out to the public. I mean, fortunately, in our day and age, we've got a lot of different ways we can do that in person. We've got social media that I don't think is being utilized enough. The city can, or your department can make, Facebook posts. And there's like 5 or 6 different Facebook groups that you can share that on that would immediately get out to a lot of people. Because unfortunately, a lot of people, they get their information from that, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. And I've actually had people tell me that I don't see why the city is complaining about not having any money when they've got money to build sidewalks downtown, not knowing that that money was dedicated for
It's free
them.
money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
From somewhere else.
I think it would be a good idea to go to things like this Meriwether thing and start a cycle of educating people of where the money comes from and how it gets there and what it can be used for.
Yeah.
So.
And I know the city has to be careful advocating for projects or for
Not until there's a ballot measure.
when there's a ballot measure, but before that, they can certainly do that. But telling the story, I don't think people realize that, if you put in the sidewalks, to your point, you put in the sidewalks, that is a CDBG grant that we received. And folks don't get, unfortunately, a lot of people go, well, my water and sewer bill are outrageous. You guys are flush with cash. We can't use any of that money for anything other than
Then upgrades
water
to
and
water and
sewer.
sewer.
It's definitely a challenge for sure.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I had my moment. Thank you.
It's a good moment to have.
Okay.
Where are we here? We do consent items and then take a break. All right, come to the point of the meeting for consent items.
Move to approve consent items as presented.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Humberg, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. Will the clerk please take the votes?
Councilmember Rounds? Aye. Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Consent items have passed. The time is now 8:43. We'll take a 5-minute break. Oh, consent items, that's all this right here. It is 8:49, and moving on to action items. Action item G, Public Works authorize purchase of vehicle for water treatment plant.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Humberg, seconded by Councilmember Plaza. Councilmember Humberg.
The water treatment plant does not have a vehicle. The one that they have has like 25 years old and breaking down and actually had to be towed back to the water treatment plant. And this is a good deal and will help them out.
Councilmember Plaza.
I agree. It's kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of ridiculous that Public Works hasn't gotten a new vehicle in over 25 years. And I can imagine that the cost that it's taken in repairs is probably equal to what a new car would be, if not more. So it's time to get that thing replaced.
Further discussion?
My understanding after reading this is that it is going to be, you're going to offset other budget items on the shortage.
That's the intent, correct. I don't think we'll have any problem coming up with the $10,000.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Humberg?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Action item G has passed. Moving on to action item H, ordinance number 1431, school capital facilities plan and impact fees.
I move to adopt ordinance number 1431.
I
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks, seconded by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Fredericks.
I think I said what I had to say already during the first reading of this. I think we have a unique situation where we have a county line that is through our city. One that's urban, one that's Growth Management Act, and one that's not. And it creates a set of unique circumstances that unfortunately for our community have some impact, where we end up footing a larger portion of the bill because the county does not have impact fees. And so, like I said earlier, we are subsidizing anyone who builds in the county. And that, to me, is something that I think that our state legislature should be looking at. And I know we've had some discussions in the past years about having an advocate that speaks on behalf of Woodland in Olympia to our state legislature. I think is something that we really should be taking a look at further. I think that there are certain, we talk about the challenges that we have with Cowlitz County. I think there's some things that probably should be looked at at a state level and addressed through law. The challenges that we have with the lodging tax is one. The challenge that we have with having to give 20% of our public safety sales tax back to them. That was something that we did in our community, but those dollars should stay in our community. Same thing with folks that put a head in a bed.
Heads in beds.
That money is made here, should stay here. And so, if a home gets built in the county, we end up having all the impacts. We have the transportation, we have in some instances through mutual aid, we have, the fire department, police department that serves out there, all have significant challenges that the city faces from that growth. In my eyes, they should be the ones paying their fair share. Because when we have to go build a new school, and make no mistake about it, we are going to be asked to be building another school in Woodland. We will end up, it's about $500,000 on the number of homes, and when I ran the numbers last, that we're subsidizing. Those folks should be paying a higher portion of those costs. So this needs to be done. I will support it, but we need to be having a bigger conversation, and we probably should be exploring ways. I don't want to use the word advocate, but there's an actual
Lobbyist.
lobbyist that can help us out. And I know I'd be interested in possibly partnering. It might be worth taking a look at. There are other folks that we might be able to share. I'd probably be more interested in sharing with Cowlitz County than I would, or Clark County, other than Cowlitz County. Because some of the legislation may be perceived as negative to those folks. And so I think it's something that we should look at. I think it's something that should maybe staff could take a look at. And really, when you start planning for fiscal year 20, which is right around the table in the budgeting process, might be something to look at.
Councilmember Rounds.
I agree with Mr. Fredericks. I know with the last school, our taxes in Woodland went up considerably, about 30%. And so I think those people that are moving into our community that's in the county that needs to help pay for that. Because he's right. They will be coming around again asking for another new school. So we need to be collecting some of that tax from some of those people that are moving into our community and creating the problem or solution, whichever one the case may be.
Further discussion? Will the clerk please take the vote on action item H, ordinance 1431?
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Action item H has passed. Moving on to action item I, ordinance number 1441, amend Woodland Municipal Code 2.80, Horseshoe Lake Management Committee, first reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Humberg, seconded by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Humberg.
We need to continue with our Horseshoe Lake Management Committee, but we need it to be in alignment with all of the other committees that we have on board.
Councilmember Rounds.
No comment.
Further discussion?
Have we been able to open up any communication with former members who've served on that committee? Maybe spark some interest in joining?
I haven't had a chance yet, but I plan on having some conversations, but haven't had the opportunity.
I've had a couple.
I had a conversation that was a little bit more reasonable, but still no takers.
No takers.
No takers either, Susan?
Yeah.
No, okay.
Gotcha. It's okay, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
I think the waters are coming.
Yes, they are.
No pun intended, with the lake. Further discussion? All right. And clarification, is this final reading or second? Didn't council take, it says first reading, didn't council take action at the last meeting? I
We
thought you.
spoke on it, but I don't
Yeah,
know
we-
remember if we.
Was it just a workshop? Okay, okay. I was making
We
sure.
can look in the minutes.
I'm looking. Oh, right here. First reading.
So this is final reading?
So this must be the final reading.
All right. That kind of threw me when I read it there.
This is August 5th.
Yeah. So this will actually, just for council's clarification, ordinance number 1441 will be a final reading. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Action item I has passed. Moving on to action item J, authorize mayor to sign interlocal agreement for prosecuting attorney services with City of Kelso.
I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign interlocal agreement for prosecuting attorney services with the city of Kelso.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, seconded by Councilmember Humber. Councilmember Rounds.
Well, I think with the contract running out at the end of the month, I think it's imperative for us to go ahead and sign this contract. It might not be the best at this point, but I'm sure Pete will look into the best possible avenue after this short term is up, so.
Councilmember Humbert.
I agree with Councilmember Rounds.
Further discussion? Will the clerk please take the vote on action item J?
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Action item J has passed. Moving on to action item M, authorize staff to prepare an ordinance prohibiting marijuana cooperatives and set public hearing for October 7th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. Councilmember Fredericks.
I will reserve what I have to say at the time we set this for public hearing.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yeah, the same. Reserve until we have a public hearing.
Further discussion? Seeing nothing else, will the clerk please take the vote on action item M?
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert.
Aye.
Action item M has passed. Moving on to action item F, appointment for unexpired term for council position number 7.
Move to appoint Montgomery Smith to seat 7.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks, seconded by Councilmember Plaza. Councilmember Fredericks.
I appreciate your willingness to stand up. I'm sorry, I didn't turn my mic on. I appreciate your willingness to stand up for this appointment, and given the fact that you're also running unopposed in the next election, I think it's prudent that we appoint you and get you seated in the seat sooner rather than later, so you can be a part of the budget process. I think it makes sense. I have seen your work as a board member of the HOA in my community, and I think you've done a fantastic job with that during your time there. Also, I think it's important to look at page 8 of the agenda. When you talk about the reason why you want to be on the council, I think that's a good reason, and I'm glad you're going to be a part of the team.
Councilmember Plaza.
No comment.
Further discussion? All right, seeing no one else, will the clerk please take the vote on action item F, appointment to unexpired term of Montgomery William Smith to council position number 7.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
Mr. Smith has been appointed. Mr. Smith, if you can join me down front, please. All right, I'll have you raise your right hand for me to repeat after me. I, Montgomery W. Smith, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States, the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington, and the laws of the city of Woodland, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge the duties of office of City of Woodland Council position number 7 according to law, to the best of my ability. Congratulations. Can you sign that one for me? Oh, is it yours? Have you sign that one for me? I got 3 of them there for you.
There you go.
That's all right. It's not any better. Welcome to the circus. And we'll have you sign one more just in case. I'm not quite sure. I gotta sign that one too. And I'll have you take your seat right over there. All right. Thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Okay.
All right. I feel like the world is back in order. We're nice and balanced again. Yes, we are balanced. We have come to the portion of the agenda for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. 9:04. Thank you, everybody. All right.
Does this not say on the